All right, we are back with your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly, and it is episode number 462. And we're recording live on Tuesday, April the 28th. More than, what, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months almost, it feels like, of COVID isolation time. Brianna, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, man.
Yeah.
Every day is a new adventure. So trying to stay positive. Some days are more frustrating than others, but I'm good. I'm healthy. My family's healthy, and so thankful for that. How about you? How you doing?
Yeah, same. I think everybody's healthy and well, so I can't complain about anything on that front. But it's getting a little sort of, it feels like it's dragging on now. I mean, there's definitely a routine. They just announced the schools are officially closed until at least like the whole month of May for sure. So
Yeah.
whether or not we get a couple weeks in June or not, who knows, of school. I don't know. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. It's been interesting. That's
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. They made announcements that Georgia was opening back up. However, the mayor of Atlanta has a very different perspective than I think our state governor. So I don't know that anybody's really going anywhere too much. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not ready to start, running around exactly and going back to normal.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is. And I think even when they do open everything up, like I think there's going to be a lot of businesses, a lot of people who are just like, "Hey man, this work from home thing, it's been okay. We can do a lot
Yeah.
more from here. We don't need to be in the office." I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I keep thinking about like how the restaurant industry I think is going to change so much. Like, I feel like there's probably going to be a lot of shared restaurant space where, different chefs come in and prepare different meals, different days, or, it's mostly prepared just for takeout or, things
Hmm.
are definitely going to change because, the overhead that it takes to keep a restaurant up and running and the amount of work and staff and everything, I think is going to be a challenge during times like this. So I don't know. It'll be interesting just to see how all of these different industries transition and change,
Yeah.
for the better and some just based on behavior.
Yeah. I also wonder, like, what's the longer term impact on travel, like, the airlines and whatnot? Because I don't, like, I mean, even once it comes back, like, I can't see that they're going to have the same volumes that they had before.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you kind of, I don't know, for me, it makes me kind of sad and thinking about like, what are my kids going to get to experience and explore, and how is that going to be different, maybe from the freedom and ease of, travel that we had before all of this started. So I don't know. I mean, it's so hard. I don't think anybody really knows what to expect exactly yet, but everybody's just thinking of what the possibilities could be. And sometimes that's gets your creative mind going, and other times it just makes you feel a little depressed. So
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
well,
We'll
we'll
see.
we'll highlight some of the good stuff today instead, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, let's get on to our show for this week. So we've got two industry news stories to cover this week. We'll each do one of those, as well as two guest interviews for our ongoing Members at Home series, and some good stuff in there as well. So I'll let Aubriana kick it off as per usual.
Yeah, so this is an interesting partnership, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And I was excited to hear about the Nextdoor app in the news once again, because it's been a long time since we've talked about them. And they have partnered up with Walmart to, well, what they're calling it is Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So they've teamed up for during this COVID crisis, obviously, and this is something that's available nationwide, but neighbors could basically go through the Nextdoor app and ask for help finding an item or picking something up for, neighbors that are going to the store. They can also offer help. And so this is helping Walmart keep less people in the store. So the goal is, you think about it like, hey, I'm going out to Walmart and I'm making a run. I don't have, elderly or more I guess, more susceptible people living in my home, so I can go out and do that. And, I'm going to ask the neighbors if there's anything I can pick up in the meantime. So I'm going out for my whole community versus just, a bunch of us all going out on a regular basis. And, this is helping people be able to more effectively social distance, which is really good too. The few times that I have been out to the store during all of this time, it's been really interesting to see how like one store does things really well and other stores, like the whole socially distancing thing is like not even an issue. And maybe it's also the clientele, but like just the approach is very different. And so I think that, being able to do whatever you can to keep less people in the store. I've seen some that limit how many people can be in the store sometimes, and other people, there's just like everybody's everywhere. There's no, extra care that's going on necessarily. But the Nextdoor CEO did say that, there has been a 260% increase in members offering to help their neighbors over recent weeks, which is awesome, right? Like that's amazing just to hear about people coming together and helping one another. But I love that the Nextdoor app is bringing these people together as well. So right now it's different than like Walmart's delivery and pickup and curbside service. It's not related with any of that at all. And purchases and neighbor is in between neighbors on the Nextdoor app. So everything is kind of going through the Nextdoor app versus going through like the Walmart traditional, purchase channels. And back in the middle of April, Walmart started reserving morning times. I think it's like an hour every morning for pickup orders, as well as like first responders, and then shoppers who are at higher risk. So I think a lot of people have kind of reserved the early morning times for the elderly to go shopping. At least that's what I've heard. So, they're starting with Walmart within this program for Nextdoor, and, they might expand this to other retailers as well. But I like this, I love the idea of helping people stay safe and socially distanced, as well as just helping out your community. And, I don't know, something that I've struggled with, as a mom who's working with, kids in the house is like, well, how can I help during this time? And how can I be a good, person and human being in my community. And I think this is something that's really easy for somebody like me to do, is just say, hey, I'm making a run. Does anybody need anything within, just the few streets that are nearby? So I really like this. And it really is like location services at its heart, right? It's like hyper local, and it just goes to show that, the location aspect can be really valuable and bring people together. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I don't have much to add. I mean, I think you said it all. I think it's a great partnership. It makes a ton of sense. I'm so impressed and happy that, that so many people are, taking time to help their fellow neighbor. 260% increase is unbelievable. The two sort of anecdotal comments around this. So one is, same here in Canada. We've got a lot of retailers that have kind of opened up that first hour and dedicated that to the elderly population, which is great that they're doing that. Although I have had several friends of mine, of parents, friends and so on, who are like, wait a second, like why do us old people have to get up early, to go to the store? Why can't the young people get up early and have that, and like we go later in the day.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about the time frame as much as it is if you think about the store is getting disinfected and cleaned overnight. So it presents the best time for them. But at first I thought of that too, like, well, why would it be earlier? That seems like they're getting like the short end of the stick, but then I get it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And then the second thing that came to mind, I love what's going on here with Walmart and Nextdoor, but you might remember, I think it was last year at our Seattle conference, which would have been happening, a year ago from last week. One of the speakers that we had was the CEO or founder of a company called Renera, which came out of the Target Accelerator, and basically was kind of the same sort of thing. So it was an app that you could say, hey, I'm going to Target, or I'm going whatever, who else around me, wants us to pick up something. And that's exclusively what it was built to do. I'm going on a run to this store or that store or whatever. The cool thing about that at the time was Target would basically pay the fee, the delivery fee, because they're getting the business. Similar type of thing in terms of what they're trying to do with Nextdoor now. But regardless of who's doing it or what retailers are involved, the premise of I'm going somewhere, I can pick some stuff up for my neighbors is brilliant. I love it. We need more of this. So there you go. All right, so that's our first story for this week. We have two guests this week for our members at home series that we've been doing, where we do a number of interviews of different folks, from their isolation environments talking. So the first interview is I had a chat with Cami Zimmer, who's the Chief Business Officer from Glympse, a great LBMA member company. Cami's also on our advisory board for the LBMA, and got to talk about kind of what they're doing. And so much of what they do as a company from a technology perspective is providing services for last mile delivery capabilities, which are obviously a big thing right now in the restaurant and food industry, especially with all of us being at home. So got to hear a little bit about what life's like for her and Glympse as a company. So that was the first interview, and then the second interview, Ron Cariker, who's the founder of Seventh Media and also heads up the LBMA Dallas Chapter. Sat down with one of his clients and members, a guy named Shannon Wilkerson, who's the marketing director at Cajun Harley Davidson. Some very interesting things that they're doing as well, and really, just hearing from a brand like that, how they've had to change their marketing spend, during this time. Obviously, not getting traffic into the dealerships and things like that. How you keep the brand relevant in COVID times, I think, is quite interesting as well. So that's the two interviews. So I'll let you listen and watch those, and then we'll come back with our final story. Alrighty, I'm excited because we have another great guest on our show this week for our Members at Home series. It's Cami Zimmer, and she is the Chief Business Officer for Glympse, one of our great member companies. She's also an advisory board member to the LBMA. How are you? How's it working from home? Welcome.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you. So great to be here. And how is it going working from home? It goes a lot better when the weather's nice. That's for sure. No, things are going well. I've been myself been working from home for the last 14 years. So it wasn't too much of a struggle or an adjustment for me myself.
Yeah, but like myself, you're on the road a lot normally, traveling, conferences, speaking, all of that. So that's an adjustment for sure.
Yeah, that for sure is an adjustment. I believe that I'm used to being probably the last 8 years being on traveling on an airplane, probably 3 weeks of the 4 each month. And so I think that's been the biggest adjustment, is trying to figure out how to do business, whether it's going, not going to events or meetings or, back to the office because I work remote myself, how to adjust to and with that when it comes to business, right? And so that's been the hardest thing, is trying to figure out how to utilize the Zoom meetings, which we already did, but to push business through during this COVID-19 epidemic. So that's probably the biggest, hardest adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all trying to figure that out. But one of the things I've been doing these interviews and talking to other members and stuff, I've been asking, are there kind of tools, technology-wise, that you're using, to communicate or do business that you weren't using before? Like, I know a lot of people, are using Zoom. Lots of our members are using things like Slack and tools like that. But is there anything new that you've been able to kind of leverage in the last little while?
Yeah, our CTO, and I don't know the exact name of it, but our CTO had introduced something to us here at the executive level that was able to take almost like a whiteboard, because the hardest part when you're trying to do business planning, when you're normally in a room with whiteboards all over, the hardest part is to try to recreate that on Zoom when everybody obviously is sitting separately. But he found a some type of a software tool that actually you can able to do that with your computer, and you can move things around and you can add things, and it's like a big gigantic whiteboard for people when they're remote. And I'll have to follow up with the listeners on what exactly that is, but I did find that to be probably the most useful tool that we had when it comes to strategizing, which I'm finding more and more companies are doing to try to figure out what life will look like, 2 months down the road or a month down the road. And so I'll get back to you on that tool because it was fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds great. So as kind of, things come back and the economy starts to open up a little bit and businesses start to open up, do you think that sort of in the short to sort of medium term, from a Glympse perspective, that things will change in terms of how you were doing business before? Like, will a lot of what we're doing now sort of persist and remain? Like, do you think more people will just stay working from home because they found it, they can do it? Or, a lot of people maybe who weren't sort of ordering groceries online, before, or things like that, will continue doing those things because they're recognizing the convenience of it. What do you think that impact looks like?
Yeah, so 2 questions that you asked. The first one is from our employees at Glympse. We're headquartered in Seattle. Probably maybe, a third of us are remote. I truly believe that moving forward, the 2/3 that are back in the office, I think things will be entirely different. And yes, I do believe we're even talking about having maybe Thursdays be where everyone works remote, no matter what. I believe that some of our employees will choose to stay home and work. They've obviously had to, make some type of an office setting within their home, and due to traffic issues and or the time that's saved. So we'll probably move forward with 1 day a week where, people should work from home. And it also makes it easy for us to, on the Zoom calls, where maybe before all of this, maybe in February, those of us that were remote were struggling to hear in various meetings and all that kind of stuff. It's really brought to light the importance of everyone, even when they are in an office, to remember that there are people that are remote. And so we're going to probably see a ton of changes here at Glympse, just in general, moving forward. And then here with our business, what's been interesting for us being in that last mile delivery, curbside pickup, what I thought here from a business aspect in the retail sector, retail meaning grocery, retail, and restaurants, was that it would probably take people globally in general maybe 2 or 3 years to adjust to and really adapt to curbside pickup. And within the month of March, we've had to adjust like that. So something where I thought would take 2 to 3 years is now taking a month. And what I see is so many companies, I mean, quite honestly, especially the last month, when I think we realized we're in this a little bit longer than we thought, we have had so many big brands, all the way down to the very small brands, contact us and say, wow, we weren't prepared for this. This was something we had on our roadmap for 2022. We need to figure it out in the next month. What tools do you have for us? And so, yeah, something that we were planning on doing 2 to 3 years are now today.
Yeah, and I think certainly businesses like yours that are sort of in that sector and in that sort of component of the industry. I mean, it's in a lot of ways it's a positive. It's accelerated, but I guess that also means you're hiring. You have to staff up. In order to kind of fill the demand that's there, which is not the easiest thing to do. Quickly. And yet, at the same time, I think there's a lot of people out of work, so there's a lot of talent available too. Have you been able to kind of see any of that yet, or you're not quite there?
Not quite yet. So most of our retail customers are in the grocery, restaurant and retail business, they're just trying to survive right now. They are furloughing employees. Obviously, the furloughs are happening left and right. But I believe that when they're furloughed, they're just kind of on hold for a little bit, and they will hopefully get their jobs back, right? And so these industries that we serve are the ones that are perhaps the most challenged right now with trying to figure out how to keep things going because the demand is there. Now, we do have other service companies that we work with where, you know, their business is maybe a little bit slower for right now. And, you know, if they've done any layoffs, you know, it might be more so on the service side of things.
Very good. Yeah, no, I think it's there's a lot of time for reflection, right? There's a lot of time to try and figure out, you know, what's next. And you know, I can say from our side, you know, even with my startup outside of the LBMA, like, you know, it was kind of like run, trying to get a bunch of things done. And now, interestingly enough, you know, people like we were raising capital, and I find a lot of potential investors are now all of a sudden available, like, you know, because they're at home and they have time, and you know, they're not stuck in, you know, in meetings all day necessarily. So you know, there are definitely positives and there's challenges at the same time, and you know, trying to figure that all out is interesting. So lastly, like you're you know, you don't actually live in Seattle, right? You're you know, in the great state of Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota, yeah, and I'll say it with a Minnesota accent.
Yeah. So what's it been like there locally in terms of just government response and the you know, sort of move to reopen and things like that?
Yeah, that is such a great question because it's been so interesting having being a global company ourselves and having an employee team member of mine even in the London area and listening to all of what's happening in London versus Seattle versus New York versus Minneapolis. Here in Minneapolis, we have controlled things very nicely, and it's nothing compared to New York. And in Seattle, though, if you'll remember, that is perhaps where it hit one of the most hardest right away. It was the very end of February. Unfortunately, I was there the next week after that hit. And I think that I've been so impressed by the way some states have really kind of gotten things under control. And, you know, on the Seattle front, they're following, you know, all the rules that they're following, and they've been able to control it. Here in Minneapolis and Minnesota area, the Midwest, we've done a pretty good job as well. We'll have to see what that means moving forward, right? I think that's probably the most likely question is, what does that mean as we watch our you know, political advisors or political people that we've put in office to see what they suggest and what they recommend. I think that they're all over the board sometimes with what to do. But what's been interesting is to look at it from a regional standpoint, or a, you know, North America or a Canada or a US, and really look at it and say, you know, what is the best bet moving forward in the various phases? And I hope that people are able to take that and look at it individually, because definitely Seattle is different than New York.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So last question for you, either from a Glympse perspective or even just personally where you are in Minneapolis, you know, has there been any opportunity to kind of take technology and kind of use it for sort of, you know, a good, you know, or social cause right now in what's going on?
Oh, that's great. We here at Glympse, we have a free consumer app that we've put, I guess we put tools together for companies, especially the small to medium-sized business companies. It breaks my heart to see like 47% of, you know, employees they come from small to medium-sized businesses, right? And so we put together some tools they're free. You can use them today. Is it the best enterprise solution? Probably not, but it will help some of these small to medium-sized businesses. It's on our website. We've even taken, being a marketing person myself, we've taken and had our marketing team put together little graphics that people can say. So we offer curbside, you know, we offer delivery, and utilizing the free consumer app that we have in Glympse that you can just download on your phones. You can actually go ahead and put together, you know, some various different solutions that really will help your businesses. and they're there for you. So again, they're free, and I think we're all just trying to come together to come up with solutions to help people. And that's what's been fascinating to watch, is globally people coming together. Hey, use this, use that. We'll give you this to use for free. Please just try to make it work, right? And that's been very heart-filled to watch from that aspect. So that's kind of where we're at as well too. What can we do to help during this time? Even if it means, looking at it from, we normally don't do this, but we'll give it to you free for right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fantastic. And I think, if you're a small business, small retailer, restaurant, whatever, tools like that, hey, we're still here, we're still operating right now, we can deliver, and being able to have access to an app like that, I think is fantastic. So glad to hear you guys are doing that. That's fantastic. Just stay safe and stay healthy and well to you and all of your Glympse colleagues. And again, for our audience, we've been chatting with Cami Zimmer, and she's the Chief Business Officer for Glympse. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
So this is Ron Cariker. I'm the chapter president of the LBMA in Dallas, out of Dallas. And today we have with us Shannon Wilkerson. Shannon is with Cajun Harley Davidson and Warhawk Harley Davidson in Louisiana. He's a marketing director. Shannon, how long have you been in the marketing Harley business?
Oh, well, I've been with Cajun Harley Davidson for about 3 years now, and Warhawk for only about 6 or 8 months.
Cool. Very good.
That's a sister dealership, at common ownership.
Gotcha. Yeah. So obviously the conversation that everyone's talking about, and especially in our world of marketing and advertising and trying to get customers out and about to purchase, is very challenging right now. And in particular in your industry, in the Harley industry, obviously motorcycles are an experience. People need to ride them. People need to come and feel them and touch them. Talk a little bit about what you're experiencing in terms of services you provide, what you're able to do for customers, what you're not able to do for customers. Talk a little bit about that if you could.
Well, as of today, we are able to provide all of our services. We have brought back our entire staff today. When the original stay-at-home order here in Louisiana was implemented, unfortunately, we had to scale down our operation significantly, and we were running the dealership with only about 10 people. Our service department was still operational, but we went down from 5 techs just to 2, and a lot of people were multitasking and wearing several different hats and trying to keep up on several different responsibilities that they normally don't have that task. So our sales department was open, but the showroom the front doors were locked, and so everybody had to come in through the service department, and we only had 1 salesman on the floor along with the sales manager. Then the marketing department, I continued to work, and our service department and our parts department were open, but we consolidated them to 1 counter. And so the counter that people normally get their bikes checked in for service, that's also where you would purchase parts. Now, with what they're called the phase 1 or tier 1 of reopening Louisiana, we have now brought all of our staff back. All of our departments are fully functional, including our motor clothes department. And so that is kind of how it's progressed from where it was to where it is right now.
That's fantastic. I know it varies around the country, obviously, with different dealerships and different mandates that they have to have certain requirements. But that's great. That's fantastic to hear that you guys are.
And the same thing took place at Warhawk.
Okay.
At Warhawk in Monroe.
Right.
And so now we're fully functional there. Now both dealerships have made adjustments to our hours of operation.
Sure.
So we cut down on the hours of operation, and at Warhawk in Monroe, we actually cut down on the days as well.
Okay.
So we were open over there Tuesday through Saturday. Now it's just Wednesday through Saturday, and we've cut back. We open a little bit later here, just an hour later than normal. But hopefully that won't last much longer, and we'll be able to go back to our regular hours of operation.
So that brings in my next question is, how have you communicated those things to customers? How have you been able to let them know we're limited or we're back to normal in certain aspects or our hours have changed? What are you using in terms of, any digital communication tools right now?
Yeah, good question. One of the things that I believe, and of course I'm biased because I do marketing, but marketing during these changes that are taking place played a very, and it still continues to play a very significant role in keeping the public informed about what we are and what we are not doing. We did cut back on a lot of our paid-for advertising during this period, but I was able to use, we use a lot of social media, but all of that is just organic social media, no paid-for advertising
Right.
On Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. So we had to use what tools we had available to us that fell into a very reduced and restricted budget. So we've used social media. I use a lot of social media. I use some email, and then of course as you know, I like to use text message.
Sure.
And so I use a combination of those three platforms to stay engaged with all of our customers, and it's been quite effective.
From your texting standpoint, obviously, I'm a little biased too, but do you get responses? I mean, when you send out a message, obviously there's a timing issue that you're getting it out in real time. You're directly communicating specific things. Are you getting customers immediately responding or calling in, or do they give you feedback that they appreciate that communication?
Well, most of the standard information that I send out, I don't get a lot of feedback, but I do see that they are opening it. Okay, because you can look at what you send and see how many people, especially when you do, like, as you know, I like to do a lot of mobile websites.
Sure.
And so you can see how people are responding to that.
They're looking and shopping and viewing. Yeah.
That's right. Through the views and the dashboard,
Yeah.
The functions that are available on the 7 Media dashboard. And so that has been very effective for me. Email also has got some very good tracking. Our email program has got some very good tracking functions, but as you know, I like to use that text message.
Yeah.
It's the most effective thing that I do.
That's good.
And so, yes, to answer your question, we do get some good feedback, but what I get the most feedback on are other types of campaigns, where I'm reaching out to people and actually doing some campaigns. But the informative ones, I can see that they're opening and viewing.
Yeah, and that's something, probably up until this pandemic happened, so much of your communication, regardless of the platform, whether it's social media or email or texting, is about events. It is about a lot of things you have going on at the dealership. Obviously, you don't have events now, so really you're communicating
Right.
Instructional, informational, and customers appreciate that, right? I mean, they want to know if you're open, and they don't want to show up and you not be there. So really communicating that has to be pretty critical.
It's very critical, and you're right. Right now we have no event. I normally have events every weekend at both dealerships, so we have no events on our calendar right now, and we also have no spotlight. And that normally is a significant part of what I am sharing with our customers. So we have less to work with. We have less platforms, and we have less to work with. But that has actually worked to our advantage in other ways, because all of my direction, with the exception of just keeping people informed, a lot of our campaigns that we are running right now are just focused on lead generation.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Everything comes down to lead generation. Every campaign, everything that we do is all about generating leads.
Sure.
Even if and most of the time it's in a very indirect way, but that's what we want.
Yeah.
And so our leads are up almost 20%.
Wow.
Simply because it's practically the only thing that I can do right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing it in a lot of different ways. I'm running campaigns that I would normally do maybe bi-monthly. I'm doing weekly right now.
Okay.
And so, for example, right now I've got campaigns running for both dealerships through 7 Media, where I will a mobile website, and it has featured bikes.
Sure.
In it, and each one of those bikes you can click on, that brings them to our website, and so that's how I can track what's coming in through our website dashboard. I can see those leads that are coming in through 7 Media, and so I can see which bikes are being viewed the most, and then we can then track those customers back through our website, and if they're in our database, and then reach out to them with another text message that says, "Hey Ron, I see that you looked at this 2020 Street Black Special. Would you like to come in and take a ride on it," or things like that. Also on those text blast campaigns, I include functions where people can, like for example, there's a function after all those bikes that says click here, and there's a graphic there, and it says click here to schedule a test ride on any of these bikes.
Right.
It brings them straight to our schedule a test ride page on our website. There's also another one that allows them to apply for financing, brings them straight to that page on our website. And then there's a third function that gives them the ability to value their trade-in.
Okay.
And that also brings them straight to that page on our website. So being restricted in some ways has really broadened our exposure in other ways.
Right. That's my next question, was that ultimately the digital assets and digital channels you had set up before all of this are really being leveraged now. I mean, you're really getting the most out of them, because that's the only way a lot of customers are really getting involved or engaged with the dealership. So it sounds like, because you had experience and knew how to implement some of this previously, you're able to really maximize it now.
Yeah, very much so. Having done these type of campaigns on a regular basis gave me the ability to really jump right in, aggressively when all this began. And so being familiar with building those websites, with those mobile websites, and sending out other kind of campaigns, I did campaigns for both dealerships also that were strictly value your trade-in.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I send out this text blast, this mobile website where if they click on it, then they respond with a certain keyword.
Right.
Okay. So, text trade to this number to value your trade-in.
Gotcha.
And so then we've got those numbers. And so those are just phone number leads, but still hot leads, because these are people that have responded to a call to action.
Yeah.
And it actually takes them, they're not just looking at something, they've got to perform a function. They've got to enter in a word.
Right.
And so we know that their interest level is higher simply because they're doing more than just clicking and viewing something. They're actually performing a task.
Yeah.
And so those have worked out very well. And we've generated probably an additional 35, 40 leads this month.
Wow.
Strictly with that value your trade-in.
That's awesome.
Campaign.
One of the things too, we'll wrap this up a little bit, is that being that it's a location-based marketing discussion, and some of the things, I've been part of the organization now for a number of years, and there's all kinds of location marketing services. There's billboards, there's digital, obviously. There's a lot of different things that tie into that. I know one of the things that you wanted to talk to me about later today is the ability to do more targeted messaging, and one of those things is we could do targeting, or you can do targeting based on the data you have, and one of those being zip codes. So you could target locations of your customers where you might say, I want these customers that are within this zip code radius of the dealership, in addition to the ability that you have now too, that you have two different dealership locations. So you have two different databases to manage, two different physical locations that you can target customers based on their proximity to those dealerships. So talk about what value you see in there, being that you can target based on location. What does that mean to you going forward?
Well, it parallels perfectly with other digital platforms, okay? Because when you do, when we run digital advertising, we have lots of functions like what you just described. You can target zip codes.
Right.
You can do, we do a lot of geofencing. We do keyword advertising on a digital platform. And when you are targeting your customer base with those digital platforms, those digital campaigns rather, you can become very specific. Well, you could do that same thing through text message target. And it's considerably more affordable. And
Yeah.
that obviously plays a very significant role right now moving forward, because now that we are getting closer to what we hope to be a fully functional economy and a fully functional social atmosphere, it's not just reopening. Now we've got to be very, very knowledgeable about our spending.
Yeah.
Because because everybody's back at work, or not, some people won't be back at work.
Yeah.
Just because people are now back out on the street doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be back at the spending level that they were before any of this happened. That could take a really long time to reach that level. And so choosing campaigns very specifically and sticking to a very stringent budget is going to play a very key role. The reason I'm saying that is because targeting through text messaging can be just as, if not more effective as the digital platform.
Sure.
But it's much more affordable. The only restriction is how big your database is.
Right.
And so just to make a quick comment on that, I run a campaign every month to build our database. Yeah, and so you probably have seen some of the giveaways that we do.
Yeah.
And so I'll create like a leather jacket giveaway, and you text leather to this number to register to win that leather jacket. Well, then I use that ad campaign in other platforms like social media, email, paid for advertising in some ways, and so we've got new people opting in. Yeah. Okay, new people opting in, and so. You're constantly, you've got some people that are just going to opt out because they don't want to get the text message anymore. And so staying aware of where your contact list is also plays a key role, because constantly building that database gives you the strength to get a better result from this campaign. Yeah,
it's not a one and done. You're always working and going towards building and growing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I really appreciate the time. I know our location-based marketing audience really appreciates it when they hear about Harley Davidson. They want to know what you guys are doing, and it sounds like you're doing as good as anybody is at this this time and stage of the world right now. So. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out through the LBMA. If you have questions of Shannon, let us know. We'll pass those along. And again, thanks, Shannon, for your time today, and we really appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you some more in the future.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
all right, thanks to Ron and Shannon, as well as Cami, for participating in our series this week. We really appreciate that. And of course, we'll have more interviews next week as we continue on in our Members at Home. All right, final story for this week is from our good friends and members at 7-Eleven. And so this is a really great good news story as well, as they have opened up a pop-up store at Children's Medical Center in Dallas, Texas. And what's really cool about it is, you and I, Aubrianne, have talked on the show, a lot over, at least the early part of this year about contactless payment and cashierless stores and Amazon Go-like environments. And we even covered 7-Eleven, sort of testing those types of stores in New York and other markets, San Diego, I believe. So what they decided to do is, just in this COVID times with all these essential workers having to be at the hospitals and whatnot, is to create a pop-up store. It sells a lot of the same things that you would expect at a 7-Eleven, snacks and drinks and household items. But the cool thing is that these workers can actually pay simply by using their hospital ID badges, their employee badges. And so making it really simple for this, the store is open to patients and their families as well. In those cases, you can use credit and debit payments there as well. There's no cash. But for the essential workers that are working, the doctors and nurses and all the caregivers and so on, they can simply use their badges in a sort of tap contactless environment. So that's super cool and interesting. And they built this whole thing. They kind of got the store up and running on 2 weeks' notice. So that is really impressive that they can kind of pull that all together and make it happen in the hospital, providing, sort of items that everybody needs. And, especially, you've been working long hours, maybe you need that energy drink. I don't know what you need, but you need something to keep going, or maybe it's a chocolate bar, or, or whatever it is, but, or your hit of caffeine. But really, really cool. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's really great as well. I also, the only thing that I would add, honestly, is that, we've seen 7-Eleven do tons of different, things that they're always testing out and trying, and some of them are out there and some of them are like really applicable. And I think this is one of those that is just great. And it's very timely, and the fact that they were able to roll this out so fast is awesome. The other thing is that, where we were thinking that contactless payments or facial recognition for payment might be, 6 months ago, and where we're probably thinking about it today is like really different, right? We're thinking about how even just getting out a credit card and having to swipe it in a machine that other people have touched is like, maybe it's something we should be avoiding. So I think that more and more of these things are going to, these opportunities are going to present themselves in these times where people are going to be more comfortable with some of the advancements that we're making from a technology perspective, and being able to leverage like your face for payment options, just to eliminate touching and spreading of germs. But I do really like that 7-Eleven is testing this out with hospital workers right now, and I'm actually anxious to kind of see where it goes from here.
Yeah, they did say that, there are two things. Like, one is they're going to integrate the payments with their 7 Rewards loyalty program. And second, like they do plan on adding the ability to use the 7-Eleven app on your phone to pay as well. So you don't have to have, the card or even the badge. You can just use your phone. So they're adding, multiple layers of convenience there, if you will. So pardon the pun, it's a convenience store. There you go. So that's it. That's our show for this week. A couple of industry news or member stories there, and 2 great interviews with our members at home series. So you've been listening to episode number 462 of Location Weekly. Of course, we'll be back next week with yet another show. And if you have story ideas, if you've got a great way that you've been working from home, or new tools you're using, or a great way that your company's technology has been leveraged, out to support COVID, we'd love to hear any of those things and be able to talk about them. So reach out to us on the various social media channels or send us an email. And we just thank you for listening and watching. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe and well.
And sane.
And all those things. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.